At Westview High School in Beaverton, softball is second to none. Like their male counterparts who play baseball, the girls have a well-maintained softball field with an electronic scoreboard, permanent fencing around the outfield.
No balls, one strike.
A press box.
Playing right field, number 7.
And covered dugouts. But getting to this point hasn't been easy.
Good eye, hustle down. We started with just a slab of dirt and a backstop in 1994, and are they ready?
Rhonda McKenzie is the school's first and only head coach. She started the softball program almost 3 decades ago.
When they build a new school, they slap up something for you, and then it's kind of up to you to create the rest. And that's not something that necessarily a coach has a great background in.
Over the years, McKenzie, along with parents, have pushed to level the playing field. In 2014, a couple moms told the school board they believe the softball facilities at Westview violated Title IX, the federal law that prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex.
We just had cyclone fencing.
In response, improvements were made to the softball batting cage to match the boys.
I think the inequities in facilities, baseball, softball, for example, they were never intentional. But to fix them, you have to be intentional.
2 outs now, bottom second. Zoe ripped up the middle.
So how does high school softball compare to baseball elsewhere around the state? To find out, KGW sent surveys to softball coaches and athletic directors throughout Oregon. 156 replied. The biggest disparity were the dugouts. 4 out of 10 respondents said there were differences in dugouts for girls versus boys. Some had wooden benches versus metal, some were covered when others were not. The other difference, scoreboards. Of the coaches and ADs that responded, 3 out of 10 said there were noticeable differences between softball and baseball scoreboards. Some were electronic while others were not. A few scoreboards didn't work. But overall, the vast majority, 88%, said softball and baseball are treated equally when factoring in equipment, transportation, the fields, and facilities.
I think people are starting to get it. I hope that there needs to be that lens of equity, whether you're in a school building or athletic fields, that you need to be thinking of everyone.
Longtime Grant High School softball coach Debbie Engelstad admits getting to where we are now has been a struggle, often requiring appeals to district leaders and even lawsuits.
It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of frustration and a lot of tears and a lot of, you just kind of keep fighting the fight.
Members of the Lake Oswego softball team are going to court. They're accusing their school of violating Title IX. That's a federal law.
In 2017, the Lake Oswego School District agreed to make improvements for the high school softball team after several players filed a Title IX lawsuit in federal court.
Softball will be down here.
Last year, Coach Engelstad and several players filed a similar lawsuit against Portland Public due to the lack of softball facilities at Grant. Unlike boys baseball, the girls spent decades playing on a dirt field at Wilshire Park, more than a mile away.
The kids often will catch the bus over here on 33rd with their bags and everything and head up to the field. That's where we practice. That's where our games would be.
As part of a settlement agreement, the softball team will finally get the field they were promised at Grant. It is due to be complete by early summer.
You know, in the end, obviously, it's going to happen, and it's going to be worth it, and it's going to be a great thing for the school and our student body. But I also think it gave my players over all these years some empowerment in realizing that they can speak their voice, and when things don't look right, they have a voice.
1-0.
50 years after Title IX.
Let's go, Kaya. Let's go, bud.
Many longtime coaches believe female athletes are finally being treated fairly. But it hasn't been easy, and there's still some improvements to be made.
So very interesting, Kyle. Tell me more about the survey. Were you surprised by the results?
A little bit. It certainly was not what I expected. You know, we started looking into this after a couple parents, they contacted me. They were upset about lousy equipment and facilities, and they didn't think the softball team was being treated fairly. So we sent out the survey expecting to hear maybe something similar, concerns over inequity. But instead, as you heard there, 88% said softball and baseball were in fact equal.
Well, okay, but what about the 12%, those who don't think the playing field is level? What did you find in those surveys? Any trends?
Yeah, and to be clear, this wasn't exactly scientific, but based on the results we got, it appears that a lot of the smaller, more rural schools they're the ones struggling to provide equal opportunities for boys and girls. Many of the schools who don't have the same or similar equipment or facilities for softball and baseball, from what we found, were located on the southern Oregon coast or eastern Oregon. And one other thing I found interesting in speaking with some of the coaches, they said that while high school softball has certainly improved, youth leagues have not. Unlike boys in, say, Little League or youth baseball, there's not a lot of funding for those youth softball leagues, those development programs. That's where the coaches see a lot of inequity.
All right. Thank you, Kyle. More work to be done on that. Appreciate your time and your reports.